In 2020, 9 players finished ahead of Vinicius Jr. on the Golden Boy list, and 3 years down the line, you could have expected a little better from some of them, but here we go. Coming in at 9th spot is Bukayo Saka finished a spot ahead of Vinicius Jr. His 2019-2020 campaign had been successful after he had managed to break into the first team following injuries to Kieran Tierney and Sead Kolasinac at the left-back position. Arsenal also won the FA Cup that season, and Saka came third in the vote for the Arsenal Player of the Season award. Although his 2020 and 21 campaign ended in a penalty heartbreak with England, we already knew that Saka was one of the brightest young talents in European football thanks to his magical left foot. Since then, Saka's trajectory has been sensational and with remarkable consistency. He has now made over 200 appearances for the Gunners, scoring over 45 goals in the process and setting numerous assists to make them title challengers once again. Saka has also been heroic for the Three Lions, winning the England Men's Player of the Year consecutively into 2021 and 22 and 2022 and 23 seasons. Personally, he's one of my favorites on the list, but this next player's performances have been equally impressive. Dominik Szoboszlai finished the 2019 and 2020 season with 9 goals and 14 assists in 27 league matches for Salzburg. So it wasn't surprising to see the Hungarian being voted Player of the Season in the Austrian Bundesliga. At the end of that year, RB Leipzig signed the midfielder on a 4.5-year contract for a reported fee of 20 million euros. This made him the most expensive Hungarian footballer of all time. Although a long-term injury affected his first season with the German club, the next 2 seasons weren't bad by any standard, as he notched in double figures for goals in each season. Szoboszlai won 2 DFB Pokal titles with Leipzig before Liverpool snatched him during the last summer transfer window for £60 million, and since then, he has been on an upward trajectory for the club. At 18, Phil Foden was already among the top 10 Golden Boy nominees in 2018. 2 years down the line, he found himself at a higher spot. Foden registered 8 goals and 9 assists across all competitions for Man City in 2019 and 2020, and was tipped to replace his idol David Silva, who was set to leave the club at the end of the season. Although Foden was breaking so many youngest ever records, there was still a disparity between the hype around him and his performances, but it is almost non-existent now as he has lived up to the billing. Foden has made over 200 appearances with 14 honors, including a continental treble. Foden was named the Premier League Young Player of the Season in 2021 and 2022 and has scored almost 70 goals for Manchester City at the time of this recording. But we have another left-footer who finished above Foden. 2020 was quite the year for the then 20-year-old Sweden international Kulusevski. He quickly found his rhythm at Parma, having been sent out on loan from Atalanta. Midway through the 2019 and 20 season, Juventus snatched the Swede from Parma and loaned him back to the club for the remainder of the season. Kulusevski finished the season with 10 goals and 9 assists and was awarded the Serie A Best Young Player of the Season. After returning to Juve, Kulusevski had an impressive first season with 7 goals in 47 appearances, but saw his playing time reduced under Massimiliano Allegri. The versatile attacker was then sent out on loan to Tottenham Hotspur in the January 2022 transfer window. In his first season, Kulusevski was involved in 13 goals in 18 Premier League matches. The signs were auspicious, but injuries, bad form, and management meant that he couldn't replicate his performances the following season. This year, he signed permanently with Spurs until 2028. A mix of technical quality and power, you get the feeling that there's a lot more to come from Kulusevski. But we could say the same about this next player. Coming off the back of a poor season with Rennes, Eduardo was signed in August 2021 with the promise of becoming Real Madrid's future, and there wasn't much pressure on him. Before then, Camavinga had made over 80 appearances across all competitions for Rennes and had shown his leadership, technical abilities, and athletic skills. What impressed many people was his work rate as a young player. Now playing alongside Vinicius Jr. at Madrid, Camavinga has become a constant presence in the midfield and has already made over a century of appearances for Los Blancos. Thanks to his quality, it wasn't surprising to see Real Madrid extend his contract to June 2029. Well, it is the exact opposite for this next player on our list because he's gradually becoming a nightmare for his club. Back in 2020, you would have thought that there was literally no better player in the world under the age of 21 than Jadon Sancho. The former Man City youth star produced an incredible 17 goals and 16 assists in the league for the 2019 and 20 season, and his stocks blew up exponentially for Dortmund. Having broken so many youngest ever records in the Bundesliga, Manchester United were willing to splash the cash in July 2021. paying €85 million for the winger. But since then, his performances have not only taken a hit, Sancho has become a nightmare for the club. Sancho didn't even make the cut for the English national team for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Injuries, poor form, poor attitude, and a number of other complaints have left most United fans upset with the player. This September, Sancho was not included in Manchester United's squad for their game against Arsenal, with manager Erik ten Hag explaining that he was not picked due to his performances in training. In response, Sancho took to social media to debunk those claims. In response, the club announced a squad discipline action plan to resolve the issue. But let me ask you guys, where do you think it went wrong with Sancho and Manchester United? It wouldn't be ridiculous to say that Alphonso Davies is one of Canada's best ever players. Back in 2020, Davies was quite a revelation in the Bundesliga at the left-back position, scoring goals, assisting for fun, and terrorizing opposition defenders with insane speeds of more than 35 kilometers per hour. Bayern won the Continental Treble in 2020, with Alphonso Davies playing a prominent role in defense, or should we say attack, because he isn't your typical defender. However, he faced the first big injury of his career a couple of months later, but was able to recover fully. Since then, Davies has remained a consistent presence for Bayern and is closing in on the 200 mark for appearances for the club. In the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the defender scored Canada's first ever goal at the FIFA World Cup in their group match against Croatia. Unfortunately, Canada failed to progress from the group stage. 17-year-old Fati finished as a runner-up in the 2020 Golden Boy list. The La Masia graduate became the Champions League's and Barcelona's youngest ever goal scorer after scoring the game winner in Barcelona's 2-1 victory over Inter Milan at the San Siro in the 2019 and 2020 season. A series of impressive performances saw Fati become talked about as Lionel Messi's anointed successor. Fati was officially promoted to the first team in September 2020 under Ronald Koeman, but tore his medical meniscus 2 months later. This injury ruled him out of action for almost a year, and you could tell that he just wasn't the same player anymore. A couple of other injuries mean that we still haven't gotten to see the best of Ansu Fati. 3 months ago in September, he was loaned out to Premier League club Brighton and Hove Albion, and has been playing some good football. Well, who do we have as our number one? There is pretty much nothing else to say about Erling Haaland because he has been everything, everywhere, all at once. A goal-scoring machine. Since winning the 2020 Golden Boy Award, Haaland has turned the Premier League into his front lawn. Haaland scored a staggering 86 goals in 89 appearances for Dortmund before leaving for Manchester City in the summer of 2022. Those figures have gotten even crazier, with the forward scoring 71 goals in 75 appearances at the time of this recording. Haaland was central in City's Continental Treble win. He was both the Premier League Player and Young Player of the Season and won the Premier League Golden Boot Award with 36 goals in 35 games. He was also the UEFA Men's Player of the Year this year and the Gerd Müller Trophy. Unfortunately, he finished as runner-up to Lionel Messi and the Ballon d'Or award. After facing some criticism for stagnant performances early on in his career, Vinicius Jr has shown that he is right up there with the best. But which of these players surprised you the most?